everyone, welcome back to Coda Stories. This is me, Sneha, and in today's episode, we have Coonoor Behal joining us. Coonoor is the CEO and founder of MindHatch, keynote speaker, and author of the book I Quit. So I'd love to welcome Coonoor today. Hi, Coonoor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hi.
It's our pleasure, seriously. So, Coonoor, what's your story? We'd like to know more about you.
Oh gosh, my story. That's a big question. I suppose, like most Americans, my story is very career focused. So maybe I'll start there. But I was born and raised in Ohio. You know, the daughter of immigrants from Indian origin. Although my dad grew up in Kenya, and yeah, and then I grew up there, very stable, same house. My parents still live in the same house I grew up in. Went to New York City for college, which was like a fish to water. I loved New York, loved cities and urban environments. Will never not live in a city. And yeah, my first my first desired career, I should say, was to work in the entertainment field. I thought I'd be a producer, writer, something a bit more on the business kind of stable side of the entertainment field. And then I got to graduation from college and realized that I never wanted to live in Los Angeles. At least that's what I thought then. And so I made a really abrupt pivot and said, okay, well, what is my second passion? And I had minored in politics and had studied abroad studying politics. And so I decided to get a master's degree in international relations and begin my career in what I thought would be forever doing international nonprofit development. I did do that for a time after graduate school, really disliked what I learned about that field while I was there. And so then I decided to shift to the private sector in like my late 20s, and I went to Deloitte Consulting. While I was there, I was really, really fortunate. I got to do a lot of innovation work and, start practicing all the things that I do through MindHatch now. So ultimately, I left Deloitte to found MindHatch, and that was 7 years ago. Other kind of things about me, I love professional tennis. I love watching it so much. And I have a Bernese Mountain Dog who I'm very much in love with as well. And I do improv comedy. I've been doing improv comedy for about 10 years as a performer.
That's very interesting. Nice,
Yeah.
nice to know that. And I've seen your social media profiles and I've seen some of the videos, and they were amazing.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Coonoor, thank you so much for introducing yourself and telling us a lot about yourself. And now let's get to the book. And I'd love to know, what got you inspired to be a writer, and when did you always want to be a writer?
The answer definitely is no. I mean, I think writing and kind of the humanities fields were always my strength, kind of growing
Hmm.
up and in college. I was a journalism major in college, but never had any intention of being a journalist. But I think I always valued being good at writing. Don't remember me saying that if you read the book in April and you're like, she's a crappy writer.
No, I
Because I
don't think
have
that's gonna
not
happen.
written anything outside of business proposals for MindHatch in years. So still feels kind of new for me. So the answer is no, I didn't always aspire to be a writer, but what really brought this book on was just an idea I had from years and years ago. And it just kept kind of gnawing at my brain and just wouldn't go away. And I came up with a title for it even before I knew I would write it as a book. It was just one of those things that just wouldn't go away in my own brain. And then there's an opportunity landed in my lap earlier this year to work with a publisher and to, learn the process of writing a book. And it was the exact kind of external motivation and structure that I was going to need to write a book. So literally within 1 week, it went from, oh, I'm never going to do anything with this idea to, oh God, I'm writing a book now. Like, yeah, it was that fast. So.
I love the title of the book. I feel it's so interesting. I would love to hear more about what got you excited about that topic.
Yeah, so the title of the book is I Quit, exclamation point, the life-affirming joy of giving up. And I mentioned I had an attraction to the topic for many years. And I think the attraction to this idea of quitting And the book itself is a collection of stories from many other people, everyday real people, and how they summoned the courage to upend their own status quo or to go against kind of tradition or family or societal pressure, and quit things in their lives. And I was attracted to this idea of, quitting needs to be reframed, and it needs to be the stigma and the shame that our society, and as I learned in the book, many societies attach to quitting is really unfair, And so I think my attraction to the idea first came about because I, was growing up and through college, like very much like a committed, do the right thing, perfectionist, type A type of person, like trying to be
Mm-hmm.
good at everything for the sake of being good at things, right? And I think, especially when I started working, as I mentioned, my first career was a big old flop, and I quit that job. And it was really positive for me to quit that job and to not stick it out. I, in fact, quit having nothing else lined up, And so that was the first of several really momentous quits in my life, professional and personal,
Mm-hmm.
that really showed me like, oh wow, quitting for me has always been about progress and about like getting to what I want faster,
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been about failure or shame, or, being stuck in the absence of something. And so I had that personal experience. And then when I started Mind Hatch, I was, a new entrepreneur, had no idea what I was doing. So I was basically just going on as many coffee chats as people would say yes to kind of talk about my business,
Mm-hmm.
and so, and I realized in these conversations that, it's very common and understandable when you're meeting someone for the first time, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
recite your resumes to each other, and like how you got to where you are now professionally, like I did at the beginning of our conversation. And I found myself really like interrupting and being like, oh wait, tell me why you left that job, or tell me why you left that city, or why did you transfer out of that school, and that kind of thing. And I just found myself really interested in people's quitting stories, and I was able to learn about people really quickly, about their values, their trade-offs, what they were willing to put up with in life, what they weren't willing to put up with in life. And so I found it to be a really valuable kind of conversational tactic, as well as
Mm-hmm.
around the same time, it dawning on me that my life is a culmination of thoughtful quits.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, and I totally agree as well because most of the time, quitting has always been a part of reinvention. It's an opportunity for us to just get done with what we're not too happy with or something like that, and then move towards something that we want to do next. Kind of opens up
Yeah.
opportunities for us for the next part of the journey that we want to take.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that opening up of opportunity and possibility is something that nearly everyone I spoke to and whose story I tell in the book
Mm-hmm.
says that they learned themselves. They said, a lot of the people I spoke to, they happen to be telling me about their first big quit. And what they say, like almost every single one of them says, it's like, wow, once I did it the first time, I couldn't stop. It was like I was so much more comfortable and confident with quitting, and I realized that by quitting that one thing, a world of possibility opened up to me that I didn't realize existed, and that wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
existed if I hadn't like left this other thing behind. And so that was a really interesting kind of theme to see run through everyone's stories, that they really did see it as opening opportunity.
Very nice. So, who are the people you interviewed for this book? Like, what section of the people are they? Like, are they from one particular background, or are they a mixed set of people?
Yeah, very, very mixed actually. And so some of the people are friends of mine who I just know.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people they were strangers to me. Like when we got on a Zoom call, that was the first time I was ever meeting them, which is pretty exciting, and kind of word just kind of got out that I was looking to interview people about their quitting stories. And so I was very lucky that word spread and I was able to tap into people who I didn't already know. So a real varied background. I think different ages, different cultures. There's like East Asian, South Asian, African, Pakistani. I was really fortunate in kind of getting a lot of non-American
Mm-hmm.
points of view, which wasn't something that I was expecting, but it really opened my eyes to where I once thought the stigma and shame attached to quitting was perhaps an American thing because of like our Puritan work ethic and all of that. It really seems to be a global phenomenon, and all sorts of cultures and backgrounds, are not supportive of quitting things in life. And so so it's a really mix of people. In terms of the types of stories, the book has different sections. There's a section of people who are telling stories about how they quit jobs or careers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a section around people quitting people and relationships, a section around quitting identities, quitting aspirations, quitting habits, and quitting places.
I really can't wait to read this book, Coonoor. I
Oh,
think it's
thank
going to be amazing. So it's going to be
thanks.
releasing in April of 2021, right?
Yeah, and my publisher is the end of April in 2021.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then can people pre-order the book right now?
Oh, yeah, they can. Yeah, thanks for asking. Yes, they can pre-order. It is available for pre-order between now and I imagine April, when it releases. And you can go to iquitbook.com and there'll be some information there about how to pre-order.
Perfect. I'm sure a lot of our viewers who are super interested in this topic are going to go and check it out. So,
Yeah.
Coonoor, one last question I had for you is, what were some of the challenges when you were writing this book?
Gosh, I mean, I'm a first-time author, so I think there was a big challenge in just knowing what to do. But like I said earlier, I was really lucky to have this opportunity land in my lap to kind of join a weekly kind of course that kind of takes you through the process and really kind of demystifies, how to write a book. And they really just
Mm-hmm.
made it seem so possible and plausible that you would write 50,000 words in the next 5 months, and so that was really, really helpful. But I think as a first time author, there was a real I would say the first challenge I encountered was having eyes bigger than my stomach, where I inadvertently interviewed too many people and therefore was a little bit behind in the writing because I couldn't stop interviewing people because the stories were just so incredible and so compelling. And I learned a little bit too late in the game that I had more than enough. So more
Mm-hmm.
than enough stories and I should get to writing. And I think right now, today, in fact, I'm going to be starting revisions to my first draft. I have feedback back. And so I think now, as always, the procrastination is setting in. I'm kind of like looking around my house and seeing what can I clean, what can I organize instead of sitting down and reviewing my feedback and starting to
Mm-hmm.
respond to it. So there's that. I think one thing I've learned about myself during the writing process, everyone has their own style, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned about my writing style is that even though I'm a multitasker, even though I'm, for better or worse, kind of a slave to my calendar, slotting in writing blocks of time on my calendar does not work for me. Like I will not be obedient to that. What does work for me is just having wide open space in my calendar so that when kind of the spirit moves me,
Mm-hmm.
I have the ability to sit down and just 4, 5, 6 hours straight, just like purge and get it all out. So I'm trying to focus on kind of just creating that space for that opportunity for when it strikes to kind of be responsive to it. So that's one thing that I've learned. Yeah.
That's nice. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing also about the information on, how as a first time author, you kind of learned the process of how to write a book and, reaching a publisher and things like that. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. I'm sure people watching this who have interest in writing a book or something like that would reach out to you probably and ask
Yeah.
you how you got through that. And what's next for you, Coonoor? What are you planning after writing this book? When's your next book going to be out?
Oh my goodness. I have not, I mean, I've only thought about the next book because you have just asked me about it. I have not thought beyond the first book and beyond just kind of, going on a speaking tour and doing a virtual book tour for this book. But, now that I'm thinking on the spot, I think it would be, if the book is successful, I think it would be very interesting to have future editions of the book that are potentially topic or people specific, like maybe
Mhm.
there could be a volume that is just about quitting relationships, or a volume that's just about quitting jobs, or it would be amazing, I think, to have a volume that is just talking to famous people about their quitting stories, and how you can learn from those and kind of, get the courage yourself to quit things. And so, I feel like there might be potential to expand on this theme and this topic, but no commitment or pledges yet on what will happen next. Yeah.
That sounds super interesting. I really cannot wait to buy a book and read it. Thank you so much for being a part of this show, Coonoor. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Sneha. This is wonderful. Thank you.
And for the viewers watching this, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share and subscribe to our channel. And I'll leave all information to Coonoor's social media profiles and the book and everything in our description box below. Go say hi to Coonoor using those links. Thanks for watching.